Welcome back to Everyday Kentucky.
And today we're celebrating man's best friend.
Yes, joining us now to talk about National Dog Day is Joel Silverman, celebrity dog trainer. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem.
So what are some tips you have for pet parents during their training process?
Well, there's a lot to it. Obviously, you guys are in an area right there where it might get a little cold, start getting colder later on in the year. So you still got some time to be outside and walking your dog and stuff. But socializing, I tell people all the time. People make a mistake of, well, get a dog from a shelter or they get a dog from a breeder, and they'll start training the dog in the house, but they don't really socialize the dog. You want to socialize your dog. Really, really super important. Get your dog around people, other dogs, and if animals are not if animals do not get a chance to get socialized and be around people and other dogs, things can happen. If they're have a tendency to be a little bit aggressive, they can become more aggressive. If they're a little bit more fearful, they can become more fearful. So you really want to socialize the animal. Get your dog involved in a dog training class, dog agility, things like that. Those are all ways to get your dogs, again, around other animals, trained and things like that. And then I focus on the bonding relationship. I tell people all the time in my TV shows, my books and everything, the bonding relationship is everything. I think a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll adopt a dog from a shelter or bring a dog in, and they'll train a dog before the relationship is established. Any successful dog trainer will tell you when your dog wants to please you and wants to make you happy, training is a lot easier. So if you can develop the bond, get a chance to understand what the dog likes, what the dog doesn't like, that's going to help your training process.
So Joe, one of the things that I'm most intrigued about, your title, celebrity dog trainer. We've got to give the viewers a little more context as to, what that entails and kind of just, what you do in that regard.
Well, real briefly, I've had a great life. I'm in my mid-60s and stuff, and I actually started as a marine mammal trainer. I was as a killer whale trainer at SeaWorld. So a lot of my time I spent in training, I spent in the water with the whales. We did a lot of water work back then, and dolphins as well. So my technique is based on positive reinforcement. So we developed a bond, we developed a relationship with the animal, and you use something the animal likes. In that case, was fish and things like that. Then what ended up happening is I lived in Southern California, so I grew up doing the animal show at Universal Studios. And as a movie animal trainer, but a Hollywood animal trainer. And I got a chance to do a video called the Hollywood Dog Training Program in 1990. It was an infomercial, and we sold about 500,000 of those. It's called the Hollywood Dog Training Program. If people Google that, don't buy it necessarily, but you can Google it. And then about 10 years later, I got the opportunity to do another thing on camera, which is called Good Dog U, which was one of the very first shows on Animal Planet. It was one of the highest rated shows on the weekends, Good Dog U. And then about 10 years later, I did another TV show called What Color Is Your Dog? And then more recently, about 6 years ago, Chase featured me in a national campaign they did called the Masters campaign, and I was featured as myself. And I was in my commercial aired about 4,000 times, and I was in all the Chase banks and stuff like that.
So you've definitely earned that title, Joel. Now, when we talk about the nutrition in dog food, I know Bill Jack Treats is a solution for a lot of pet parents today. So why is that?
Well, you want to make sure you're feeding the right food and the right treat. Bill Jack, I met Bob Kelly, the president of Bill Jack, back when I was doing Empty Nest. I trained Dreyfus on the TV series Empty Nest. We were a spinoff of Golden Girls about 35 years ago. And I met him, we were doing something together. And since that time, I've been feeding the food. I always tell people all the time, it's like, take a look at how the food is made. And I would just recommend people just go to billjack.com, BIL-JAC.com, and look at the difference between how the food is processed. They do this slow cooking. It's all slow cooked in small batches, so you don't ruin the proteins aren't and the amino acids aren't diminished. You want to make sure that you do it at low levels, and that's kind of what they do. Is we don't have much time, a lot of time to talk about that. But if people go to the website, they can learn a little bit about that. And that's what I've been doing. I've been feeding all my dogs that food for their whole lives since the last 35 years, and it's just really, really good. And they do the same thing with the treats as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those tips on National Dog Day. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks a lot for having me, guys.